1998.
Every man I kill, the farther away from home I feel.
You understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Remember when Bobby Boucher showed up at halftime and the Bud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl, do you?
We're live inside Madison Square Garden. Dr. Nico Totopoulos.
A new species will emerge, one that could replace us as the dominant species of this planet.
What did you see, old man?
Godzilla. Godzilla.
Welcome to Quantum Recast. I'm your host for the day, Nick, and I'm joined this time by Aly Dale.
Hello, hello.
How are you today? Doing good?
Doing well.
Good. And from across the pond, our friend from his own podcast show, Film Exploration, Ash Hurry. How are you, sir?
I'm very well. How are you guys?
Very good. Now Ash has stayed up late for this very special episode. I say special because it's near and dear to Ash's heart here, today's episode. If you have clicked on this episode, you're not confused. There's a number by the name Godzilla 2007. That's not the year the movie came out, but that's the year we're taking it to, because that's what we do on this podcast is we take favorite movies or popular movies or sometimes infamous movies, you might say, and we take them to a different year and we give them a brand new cast and just kind of discuss what it would be like to have that movie in that time and era. If you're new to the show, be sure to follow us on all of the social medias at Quantum Recast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever it's called in the latter dying days. And we're on TikTok, as long as it's still legal to be so. But maybe we'll let Ash run it from the UK. And
there we go, once it's banned here.
Once it's banned here.
Don't trust me for that, honestly.
Yeah. But yes, today we are discussing Roland Emmerich's 1998 blockbuster Godzilla. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the movie, I'm assuming those are you, the ones that are listening, and those of you that are not familiar with it, it is a 98 blockbuster that has not the best reputation amongst film goers, especially amongst Godzilla fans. But today we're going to discuss it a little bit, and then we'll jump to the year 2007 and figure out a cast for this movie.
Yeah, sounds good.
You guys ready to go?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So before we get into too much of it, I want to do a quick deep dive into what this movie is. So this week's movie, Godzilla. It was released May 20th, 1998. The name Godzilla is a romanization of the original Japanese name Gojira, which is a combination of two Japanese words, Goria, which is gorilla, and Kujira, which is whale. So the word alludes to the size, power, and aquatic origin of Godzilla.
That's cool.
The more you know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, whales, Aly Dale.
That's cool.
Gorilla as well, with a King Kong reference there.
Which kind of makes sense, like when you think of the traditional Godzilla, he's more upright and he has his arms and stuff are a little more animated and such. But yeah. It was, created by Toho Studios, which was founded in 1932. It is the largest of Japan's big four film studios. It is known for films such as Seven Samurai and Godzilla, both released in 1954. Talk about a banger year for a studio. They're also known for helping distribute such films that people may be familiar with, the animes Akira and the Studio Ghibli films like Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke.
Nice.
So yes. This particular version is the American version. It was directed by Roland Emmerich, who you might have seen his movies such as Universal Soldier, Stargate, Independence Day, The Patriot, and written by and produced by Dean Devlin, who also wrote for Independence Day and the Geostorm that came out a few years back.
A classic.
If that gives you classic Geostorm. But yes, it was Toho Studios. It's pretty much, you could argue that Godzilla is the house that Godzilla built. And Toho Studios, there's over 38, I believe, movies of Godzilla now. And it has been listed in the Guinness World Book of Records as being the longest running film franchise in history.
Take that.
Which I don't know. I don't know how that works with, I guess because The Mummy and Dracula, they don't really have like proper sequels. They did, but it wasn't like there was this constant continuation maybe. There was always like, now we're doing our version of Dracula. Now we're doing our version of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Like Universal didn't keep the thing going, I guess. So I don't know what constitutes like, yes, this has to equal being in the world record for longest running franchise. But for those of you that aren't familiar with the Godzilla franchise, it started in the 50s. It had this movie that came out and was very more serious. It's more of a commentary on, the nuclear fallout from World War II. It's about, and Godzilla kind of represents, the kind of the sins of the father kind of thing. This is the best way I can describe it, where it's the actions that the Japanese did to the world is coming back to haunt them, basically, and in the form of Godzilla. But from there, it gets goofy. In the 60s and 70s, he's sliding on his tail. He's fighting King Kong and Ghidorah. And it gets wild. Yeah. And then in the 80s, he gets a little gritty, gets back serious again. And then in the 90s, they decided, we should probably try to wrap this up. They felt like they had done everything they could with Godzilla. And so that's where this American film producer Henry G. Saperstein came in. And he got permission from Toho to pitch to Hollywood for a movie. It took him 10 years to get Toho to agree to it. And finally they did. And they finally got TriStar announced their acquisition to the rights of Godzilla from Toho for a trilogy of Godzilla films.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So they were all set, ready to go. Now, this is where things get interesting. So, yeah, it sounds like a bankable time because the 90s, as you guys know, it's a big time for big blockbuster movies, disaster movies. I mean, 98 alone has 2 end-of-the-world scenarios with Armageddon and Deep Impact. So, we're right in the perfect... You'd sit there and kind of go, yeah, this is pretty good spot for it.
You're in a spot, yeah, definitely. It's the Y2K because everyone thought the world was going to end in 2000. So there's the end of the world films were the thing.
Listen, people still think the world's going to end at different points in time.
2012, 2012. 2020,
Yep. So they signed on originally Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. You might know them for writing Shrek and also the original Pirates movies.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, basically they wanted to avoid the comic-like approach. They wanted a legitimate science fiction story that kind of evoked feelings of mystified or scared, all-inspired for audiences. Wanted to stay very true to the original intent of Godzilla. And then Emmerich and Devlin came in, and it had been pitched to them. They turned it down, and Devlin stated, "Both of us thought it was a dopey idea the first time we talked. When Chris came back to us, we still thought it was a dopey idea. Not a good start for your thing." And then Devlin said, he said, "I told Sony that they would do the movie, but on their own terms, with Godzilla as a fast-moving animal out of nature rather than some kind of strange creature." Strike number 2, maybe coming down the lane there for Godzilla fans.
Very bold.
And then, despite praising Elliott and Rosso's script, Emmerich discarded it, saying it had some cool things in it, but it's something that I wouldn't have done. The last half was 2 creatures going at it. I simply don't like that. Which, if you've ever seen any other Godzilla movie generally, other than the first one and -1 that came out recently, that's pretty much all Godzilla is.
That's the best part. It's just these gigantic mutant monsters just going at it with each other. That's one of my favorite things.
Do you know what? I'm going to back him up here because Godzilla -1, absolutely love it. But there is no other monster in that movie. It's just a fight against the humans. I prefer those fights rather than the CGI King Kong and Godzilla because it's more grounded, I think.
Well, I think, and that's really the balance between the Godzilla franchises. You have -1, 1954's Godzilla, and they kind of keep going back and forth where it's we want to tell this very honest story and use it as this metaphor for nuclear war or whatever, environmentalism and stuff. And then you kind of go to the other end of it where it's just I just want to see bros punching dudes, man. I just want to see some stuff break, which Aly and I got to go watch Godzilla Kong, The New Empire last night. Aly was delighted.
How was it? Did you enjoy it? Because I'm seeing it tomorrow.
It's a lot of fun. Now, if it's the other side of the spectrum, so you have to know that walking in. It as I've said, it is the most expensive Saturday morning cartoon, and if you could walk in with that mentality, you're going to have a good time.
Yes, it is full cheese. They leaned full on into the cheese, and so if you can. Once you understand the tone and you're like, okay, this is mindless, brainless fun, you're going to have a good time. It was great. It was a great time.
But then that's all you want. You go into the cinema to have an experience, to have fun, no matter if it's a critical experience or if you're watching an Oscar performance or a blockbuster. I mean, you had that on a Saturday morning and you enjoyed yourself. Yes. So you knew what you're going into. So I think that's a successful movie in your eyes and anyone's eyes who enjoyed it.
For sure. And I think it's cool that we got both sides of that Godzilla coin within 3 or 4 months of each other with -1 and then The New Empire.
What a film. Yeah. What a film that was.
It was great.
It was so, I didn't know they could do a film like that because you said there was 38 different variations of Godzilla, but -1 was with the kamikaze storyline and it just the way it came together at the end. And I wasn't sure where they were going. And I love the fact there was less Godzilla screen time. I love that. I mean, there's a guilty pleasure you want to see. It's kind of like Jaws. You don't really see the shark for a long time, but that anticipation, there's a monster and you don't really see it. But when you do, it's incredible and unbelievable film. I loved it.
For sure. Now we're going to talk about continuing to talk about Godzilla 98. So we have the perspective, the past, the present, and the future. We're going to rewind a little bit, about 20 years or so. The budget of Godzilla 98 was 130 to 150 million. 379 million worldwide is what it got.
So it made its money back.
That's the weird conundrum of it, is that it was successful, but for some reason it left a bad taste in people's mouths as like it being big, dumb blockbuster.
Exactly.
And then the other side being, oh, this is just, this isn't Godzilla. Yeah. So it's very strange because like Emmerich, he later regrets the film's production. He felt it was rushed for Memorial Day weekend, but he defends it, saying he thinks it's better than critics gave it for, which I agree with. I think the biggest sin of this movie, and we can talk about this here in a second, is I feel like that and this is what the Toho Studios people, the actors and stuff kind of said, was like, it's not Godzilla. It doesn't have its spirit. The quotes are, it seems like that they're afraid that it took the god out of Godzilla, basically. It made him just another animal. To an extent. From here, I want to just dive into useless critic stats, so we can come back to a lot of the comments and stuff of the aftermath of the movie itself. So for Godzilla 98, IMDb gave it a 5.4 out of 10. Kind of middle of the road there for them. Rotten Tomatoes, the critics gave it 20 out of 100. The audience was not much kinder either, with a 28. So very, very low rankings there. That's wild. Metacritic, a 32, so actually better than Rotten Tomatoes. Strange.
Yep.
Oh my god.
And a 5.0 for the audience score out of 10. I hate that they do that.
Yeah.
I'm going to comment on it every time, I guess. Letterboxd, the people. What did the people say? The millennials, that is. Letterboxd, and they gave it 2.2.
Yeah.
So not favorable. Not very favorable on the critic side. I gave it a 3.5. Aly, a 3 out of 5.
Yep.
Ash, what? You don't have Letterboxd yet. I haven't convinced you to sign up yet. But
Not yet.
What would you give Godzilla out of 5?
Oh, don't judge me, but I don't care. I love this film. I probably would have given it a 4 out of 5. I'm not even lying.
4 out of 5.
Nothing wrong with that.
I love it.
But you have some nostalgia with this too. A little. It tugs on the heartstrings.
It's just like, I was 8. Well, it came out in 1998. I was 9 years old, and DVDs were becoming a big thing at the time. And I didn't have any like knowledge or lens of all these other Godzilla movies. I've heard of it.
Right.
King Kong hadn't even come out yet. Peter Jackson's movie came out, and I hadn't seen the 33 version. I didn't watch black and white films when I was 9, 10 years old. And this film was just everything the 90s represented. It came with an album.
Oh, yeah.
It came with, it came with action sequences. It came with that Y2K, and it was surrounded by films that were favorable. The Mummy the year after, Independence Day the year before. It was just filled with blockbusters, kind of like your experience with, Godzilla versus Kong. You went to the cinema knowing what you were going in for. I watched this film and I did not know what to expect when I watched it on TV the first time. I didn't go to the cinema and watch it. I wish I did, but I was only 9 years old. But I think it's just getting a lot of. I just don't. I get it and I don't get it. I think it's just convenient to hate it.
Yeah, I think it's another one of those that has it's the fault of the internet a little bit. As a kid, you watch it and you're like, this is fun. I enjoyed this. This is a good time. And then the internet comes back around and suddenly all those other voices come in going, like, breaking it down. And the cinema sins of the internet was kind of like, here's everything wrong with this movie. Yeah. You have the Toho purists that are like, this is just not what Godzilla is. Yes. But at the same time, as Americans, and it seems like even in the UK, you don't really have that knowledge of the Toho movies and stuff. You're aware of them. Like, you're like, yeah, that exists over there. But if anything, I feel like this was a gateway drug to the Godzilla franchise for Americans. We're also in the time where anime is being introduced to Americans and the rest of the world through Toonami on Cartoon Network, and you're getting Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon and stuff is blowing up. So I feel like it's right in there with it, and then we started to learn about Godzilla, and over the next 20 years, you see where Legendary Studios finally takes a crack at it, finally figures out, oh, this is what Godzilla is all about, and finds that balance a little bit.
No, but I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I think with 1998, it was such a peculiar year as well, because you didn't really know what you were going in for, because there were some really like dark movies, and then there was just the complete opposite, kind of the popcorn blockbuster movies. So you didn't really know what side of the fence or what tone Roland Emmerich was going to go for as well, because they assumed, because of Independence Day, how popular and successful that film was, that they just assumed Godzilla, do what you want, Roland Emmerich, because Independence Day was just a massive hit, and that was another end of the world film, and and like you said, it made money. It made its money back, and everyone calls it a flop. So I think you just get influenced by other people, and then you kind of you believe it. You kind of believe it, and then it's like a cultural thing where people start saying, "I hate this person." As, oh yeah, me too. But you don't know why. And then when you look into it, you're like, "Well, why do I hate that person, or why do I hate this movie?" Because I enjoyed it when I first saw it. So it's interesting.
And sometimes there's those rose-tinted glasses, whereas a movie from your childhood, you're like very much like, "Oh, I love that," and you watch it, go, "Oh, it's not as good. It didn't hold up as well." And I felt like rewatching it this time. I was like, it's not a perfect movie by any means, but I was still entertained by it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
When did you watch it, Aly, for the first time?
So in '98, I was 6, and of course, as you guys know, Jurassic Park is my favorite movie. So anything with giant lizards or giant reptiles, I'm all in. Like I'm all in. So I remember the marketing for it because the trailer took place before Titanic.
Yes.
And I remember seeing Titanic at the drive-in with my family. And I vividly remember that shot of the fisherman running down the pier as Godzilla is like breaking it apart. And that's ingrained in my brain. So I remember watching it, but I was a very sensitive child and I'm a sensitive adult, but but the ending broke my heart. And so I didn't watch it I cried when spoilers. I cried when you found out that, for one, she laid a bunch of eggs that they ended up destroying. And 2, like the heartbeat slowing down destroyed me as a child. So I did not watch it too often.
100%, Aly. That is a tearjerker, definitely.
It did. It got me. I mean, even just rewatching it, it brought me back to my childhood. And I was like, oh man, I forgot all about how this made me feel.
Yeah. Now, have you seen the teaser for this ever before? It came out with Men in Black, and it opens in a museum, and it's a T-Rex skeleton. Yeah. And Godzilla's foot stomps on the T-Rex skeleton. It's pretty much just this big statement of like, you thought that was big. Wait till you see this.
Oh,
take this, Spielberg.
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look at that. I'm going to have to look that up after this is over.
Definitely go look that up on YouTube because it's fun.
Nick, that is a really good mention of the film as well, because back then in the 90s, that teaser, they spent millions on that 30-second advert. Millions. They don't do that anymore, and they just spent it on that one thing.
Wasn't even part of their main production. Like they just shot that before they started shooting.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't appear in the movie. They got, I think it was a Natural History Museum, and it was like a statement to the Jurassic Park movie because it just came out before The Lost World, the second movie.
Okay.
And they got just the foot to stamp on it, and that was it. And they spent so much money on it, and it came out a year before the movie came out, which is ridiculous, but it's very 90s, like teasing up all the way for a year.
Yeah, you don't see that very often.
You mentioning The Lost World, that this came out right before that jarred something. Maybe I do remember seeing that because that does sound kind of familiar to me.
It's possible. Like
yeah, maybe I just anything The Lost World. I immediately try and discard.
Aly, I've got a soft spot for The Lost World. I don't know why. I just love that movie.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm weird about it.
The Lost World was the first Jurassic Park I actually watched all the way through and was allowed to watch and got it on VHS. And Godzilla was another one of the first. I would call it one of the first like adult movies that I got to watch, like a PG-13 and up. Yeah. But yeah, I remember watching it with my siblings and family, and it was kind of around the same era as like Batman and Robin and Independence Day. I was finally allowed to watch those movies, and I'd watched Indiana Jones and Star Wars, the original trilogy before that. So it was kind of in that same vein. I felt like there was the action, the adventure, the sense of whimsy with the characters and stuff. So it felt right in line with all of that. I felt like, Plus the box art was just amazing. So as a kid, you're like, this is sick.
It was cool. The font and everything. I remember thinking was really cool.
Green. So 2000s, like or like turn of the millennium.
So good.
MTV grimish color.
So speaking of, before I get into what Ebert said about the movie, marketing wise, Emmerich insisted not to use full images of Godzilla during marketing. He had that Jaws mentality, like you mentioned before, Ash. 300 companies signed an agreement not to show the full image of Godzilla before the movie's release.
Whoa,
300.
Damn.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and Taco Bell contributed like $20 million in media support, and that, if you remember, then it was the Taco Bell Chihuahua, and he was like commercials of him attempting to trap the monster in a box or riding the monster's tail and making an order for 2. Like they went all in on the marketing, but which also Ash points out, like it's a very 90s thing. We still see it a lot, but not on the level. I think a lot of people point to the Godzilla movie as like this is marketing like 100% of the 90s example.
That's how you market. Like you don't have they had Godzilla figurines in cereal boxes and people, you don't get that anymore. And you had like planes flying out with a tagline in the sky. I mean, that level of like rustic advertising just doesn't exist anymore, and I kind of miss it.
Yeah.
Well, and even in other movies too, and I don't know if these are correlated, but I did recently rewatch Armageddon because that is one of my favorite movies. And Godzilla shows up. There's like a Godzilla toy in the very beginning when the asteroids first start going down.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering if maybe there was something, I don't know, maybe some sort of Michael Bay kind of, I don't know. But
Michael Bay, I think in the audio commentary said that he's referencing his competition because they came out a month apart. So he gave like a tribute to the Godzilla movie.
Shots fired.
I need to listen to the commentary because I've heard
they're so interesting. Ben Affleck is hilarious on that commentary.
I've heard it's just Ben Affleck asking a lot of questions and Michael Bay which are solid questions, and Michael Bay's just like, shut up and watch the movie.
Pretty much. Right.
So before we jump into 2007, the year we're taking this movie to, let's hear what Ebert had to say. So Ebert, he gave it. Any guesses real quick before I drop this? This
is there
knowledge
half
on
a star on this, or
I'm assuming it's pretty low.
It's a 1.5 star, Ash. So better than expected.
Better
but
than
still not great. He says, apparently in his article, going to see Godzilla at the Palace of the Canes Film Festival. I don't know how to say that properly. Ash, if you can help me there. It's like attending he said going to the Canes Film Festival to watch it is like attending a satanic ritual in St. Peter's Basilica. How do you say that?
Basilica.
I can't say it. Basilica. Thank you.
That.
Satanic ritual in St. Peter's Basilica. 50 years old. Godzilla's big, ugly, ungainly device to give teenagers the impression they are seeing a movie. So it's going great so far. One must carefully repress intelligent thought while watching such a film. The movie makes no sense at all, except a careless pastiche of its betters. You have to absorb such a film, not consider it. My brain rebelled and insisted on applying logic where it was not welcome. What a cold-hearted, mechanistic vision, so starved for emotion or wit. The primary audience for Godzilla is children and teenagers, and the filmmakers have given them a sterile exercise when they hunger for dreams. Sometimes I feel like he just waxes poetic just for the sake of it.
But he wasn't a fan of the movie.
Thesaurus.
And he also had to sit there and say, "Oh, I went to the Cannes Film Festival."
Yeah.
It's like you went to watch Godzilla at the Cannes film. No wonder you had a bad time. Nobody went there, was going to enjoy it.
I'm glad that they named the mayor after him because that is an awful review.
That's what I was going to bring up. Was that apparently Emmerich had beef with Ebert and his partner Siskel when they were reviewing movies back in the day. So he made the mayor of the movie and his partner based off of them. And which Ebert and Siskel played it off. They're like, well, I was the mayor. That was kind of cool. Like, why didn't he just murder us or like have us get stomped out or something? Like,
that's true.
Like, that's fair.
Maybe he just thought, well, that's a little too far. But I am going to tell you how I feel about you.
Right, yeah.
I respect you, but I'm not going to kill you off yet.
Right. Yeah. So obviously Ebert's right in line with all the other critics of the time. I don't know. I just think it's a movie that's enjoyed. And I think its ultimate sin was that it was a Godzilla movie in the sense that its biggest sin was that it had Godzilla in the title. Had you given this any other title, people probably would have sat there and with the same kind of vibe as Independence Day and gone, another great blockbuster, another kind of great disaster movie, sci-fi thing. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's a really good bring up. I bet you if it was named something else, it would not have the not even reputation. That's the wrong word, but the
baggage.
Yeah, the baggage that the movie has. I agree.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
So we're taking this to 2007. So before we do all of our casting stuff, we got to break down the year we're going to. We got to get into the mo. We got to get the vibes out there, exactly what kind of mindset the world was in when this movie is going to come out. So we're going to start it off with the box office for 2007. The top 10, ladies and gentlemen. Starting from the bottom to the top, at number 10, we have Gerard Butler in 300. For those of you that like some abs and some slow motion action. At number 9, we have Alvin and the Chipmunks. Who did this? Who allowed this to get? Who went to watch? Ash, how many times did you watch Alvin?
No comment.
Okay, all right. Number 8, National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. The very subtle performances of Nick Cage's career, as we've come to find. His Disney years, as you will. Number 7, we wrap up the Jason Bourne saga with The Bourne Ultimatum, and I'm still confused about what exactly happened.
Yeah.
At number 6, we have I Am Legend by Will Smith and Company, which is getting a sequel based off of the alternate ending.
I know. So, how far are they going for sequels now?
Get excited for that, guys, because we're just it's alternate history now.
Oh my God.
At number 5, we got Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
It's the fifth one.
The fifth one. Thank you.
Yeah. It's my least favorite.
Least favorite?
Yeah,
Really?
It's my least favorite out of them.
You also? Oh, wow. Okay.
The book's really good, though.
Yes, 100%. Agree with that. Yeah.
Maybe the HBO season will be better.
I've got mixed feelings about it, man.
At number 4, we wrap up the original Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy with At World's End. Get some sweet Davy Jones CGI, which has yet to be bettered, in my opinion.
Very good. Yeah.
At number 3, we start another franchise with Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox with Transformers.
That was a
Michael
movie.
Bay. That was a big movie.
Fun movie.
That was a good film. Yeah. That
went off the rails after that, but hey, we all got to see Optimus Prime in his prime.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 2, Shrek the Third. In my opinion, the lesser of the Shreks. I think the fourth one's way better.
Oh, interesting.
Very emotional, the fourth one, actually. Very emotional.
For sure. And at number 1, of course, the other trilogy capper. We have a lot of trilogy cappers today, ladies and gentlemen, but it's Spider-Man 3.
Which is so much better than people give it credit for.
Yes,
I love Spider-Man 3.
Yes. Aly, thank you.
I love it.
Thank you for saying that out loud because I agree with you. I love the third movie. Absolutely love it.
Well, another time, maybe another podcast. Probably not if Corey has anything to say
eyes are going red right now. It's like, what?
So yeah, pretty sequel heavy, pretty trilogy capper heavy. Nothing surprising here. But let's move on and see what the critics actually liked this year at the 80th Academy Awards. So put on your bow ties, your bolo ties, a dress if you prefer, Allydale, whatever you want, you know. But this year at the 80th Academy Awards, at Supporting Actress was given to Tilda Swinton for her performance in Michael Clayton. Supporting Actor was given to Javier Bardem for No Country for Old Men for his coin-flipping villain.
Sugar.
Best Actress went to Marion Cotillard for La Vie en Rose. A very, very artsy movie because I haven't watched it.
Quite good.
I only saw a clip at the Oscars. Have you seen it, Ash?
Yeah, it's a quite good film.
Okay, well, there you go. Ash is making us feel more reputable here.
There we go. Yeah.
I just fancy her. She's a very good look.
She's fair. Great.
That's fair. She's great. Yeah. Best Actor at the Oscars goes to Daniel Day-Lewis for There Will Be Blood against very stiff competition. George Clooney, Johnny Depp, Tommy Lee Jones, and Viggo Mortensen in Sweeney Todd and Valley Ela, Michael Clayton, and Easter Promises.
That
takes us, very solid cast or list of nominees there. Yeah. For Best Picture, the nominees: There Will Be Blood, Michael Clayton, Juno.
Interesting.
Juno.
I didn't know Juno was nominated.
There's always the one, the crowd pleaser.
That's a great one.
Yeah. Atonement. Ooh. And of course, the winner, No Country for Old Men. Do you guys agree with that Best Picture winner?
I mean, it was that whole thing where There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men were like shooting on the same studio, weren't they?
Yeah.
And they were basically sharing the awards. But I think so. Yeah, I think that was the best film.
I think so. I will admit, I was a little. No Country for Old Men was a little overhyped for me. So when I watched it, it was really fantastic. Don't get me wrong, and Javier Bardem absolutely deserved Best Actor or Best Supporting Actor.
The ending's unexpected.
There were a couple of points where I was like, I don't really understand this, but okay. But it was great.
No, I think you're right, Ash. That it was definitely the year of There Will Be Blood, No Country for Old Men. But also just kind of a dark year because Sweeney Todd, it's a lot of revenge plot-based stuff. Eastern Promises is a pretty dark movie.
Yes.
But I always reference to Corey, this is the year that Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars was like, does Hollywood need a hug? Yeah. We all needed a hug, Allydale.
We all did. And Atonement was also pretty dark.
Yeah, I have yet to watch that one. But
that has one of the, without trying to spoil it, it has a very shock ending.
Okay.
That's what I'll say
It's great,
about
though.
that.
I really enjoyed it.
Cool. Yeah. Very cool. Add it to the list. But speaking of notable films, there's plenty this year to pick from. I don't want to go through them all just yet because I want to hear what you guys would like to see, have seen that you want to note about this year. Ash, I'll start with you. What's a notable film from 2007 that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, I mean, I was just looking through the list, and I think Ali said it. There was so many great films out that didn't really get any recognition. But I think as soon you let time do its thing, and you look back and that came out in 2007. But the one for me was, strangely enough, a film where Cillian Murphy is playing a scientist for a nuclear bomb, but it wasn't Oppenheimer, it was Sunshine. And this was a Danny Boyle film. And it was just before he won the Oscar for Slumdog Millionaire. And it's one of the, you know what, given Ridley Scott's done so many and all the good space movies out there, this is one of the best space movies I've ever seen. And it's
really good.
It is a very good one.
The soundtrack is immense. It's absolutely fantastic. And I think every single person in this movie, there's only 8 characters in this movie, are just on point. You get every single character. And I think Cillian Murphy does such a good job there. Sort of a taster for what's to come after that, because he was also in Red Eye, I think, that year as well with the Wes Craven.
Yeah.
Red Eye's great too.
Yeah, Sunshine for me, just because of the soundtrack, and the movie was just very, very arty in space. I kind of like that.
Yeah, no, that one's great, and it's a great Mark Strong performance as well.
Mark Strong, Chris Evans, Cillian Murphy.
Everybody.
Oh, that's right.
Great cast.
I forgot Chris Evans was in it.
Yeah.
Allie, I'll toss it over to you now. What movie would you like to note?
So I was really excited because I've actually seen like half of the movies that are on this list. One though that I've never seen, but I remember in high school it was really popular. One of my high school best friends is a huge Beatles fan. So Across the Universe is one where I remember, because that's really when YouTube started ramping up, and I remember her showing me a couple of the scenes from the movie, like the Hey Jude part and a couple of the others. And so yeah, that's one I would like to see. I've never seen it. It's just one that I think would be fun to watch. But yeah, there's a lot of really great movies this year that came out this year, except for The Mist. That one can go away forever.
You don't like The Mist, Ali?
Listen, I had a 3-hour mental breakdown.
Oh no! I feel like we need to talk about this after the podcast.
Yeah,
we'll have a debriefing.
Yeah, we'll have a therapy moment afterward.
We'll talk about the ending.
So like you said, Ash, there's tons of movies this year that have come out. I mean, just to name a few: Ratatouille, if you're a kids Pixar fan. You've got The Simpsons as well, came out with their movie, but Knocked Up, Live Free or Die Hard, American Gangster, Disturbia, No Country for Old Men. We've talked about 1408's a lesser known kind of horror psychological John Cusack movie. 310 to Yuma, which we just came out with. Go listen to that episode as well.
Very good episode.
But we also have, I'm going to bring up one of my favorites always, and it's not Shoot 'em Up, but Smoking Aces. Both are great, but Smoking Aces in particular. It's just all the assassins coming in to kill this one guy, this magician. It's a fun time. I'd always recommend watching it. It's a good time.
I'll have to add that to my list.
Yeah. Ryan Reynolds is in. Like, there's a ton of people in it. Like, I can't even name. Like, I think not Chris Pine's in it.
One of the Chris's. Yeah.
One of the Chris's is in it. Like, it's a long list of people, but it's a lot of fun.
Okay,
I'd definitely recommend that one.
I'll have to give that a chance.
Eventually, I'll get someone to watch it, and they'll be like, "That was perfect."
Nick.
It's so good. All right. So we have an idea of the year we're going to. We talked about the movies. So before we get to casting real quick, I just want to ask the final question we always do. How does this movie change from 1998 to now being in 2007? Ash, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think about changes that are made?
I mean, it's not that far away, but at the same time, a lot has changed.
Yes.
I mean, 2007 kind of doesn't know what it is yet, but it knows it's trying to have fun. The franchises are in full swing, as we've heard from the top 10. I feel like the noughties exist as a decade, not a singular year. Whereas 1998, 1999, each year has its own characteristic. Whereas I don't think that there is a year in the noughties that has that. I think it just exists as a decade as a whole. Whereas 1998 is a year, and we know why. 1999 is a year. 1994, Lion King, Speed.
Because you could argue almost like there's three different eras in the 90s. There's the early 90s. It's kind of like we talked about on our episode or minisode for Ready to Rumble. There's the early 90s where grunge and everything's at the forefront. The mid 90s, and they have the late 90s, which are like it's a duality, because it's like one minute we've got Austin Powers, at the other minute we've got Fight Club. Over here we've got American Beauty, and then over there is Godzilla 98. So it's a very strange. There's a lot of experimentation going on, but the 2000s it's after the bubblegum pop scene, but there's remnants of that. But it's its own singular kind of idea. It's also from an American point of view. It's the latter years of the Bush era. We're post 9/11. We're kind of right into the Iraq War. So there's a lot of like those politics and themes and stuff going into movies and stuff. So you're getting a lot. I think that's why you're getting a lot of those serious kind of movies like There Will Be Blood, like 310 to Yuma and stuff. They're touching on a lot of darker stuff as well. So I don't know if Godzilla necessarily completely reflects that. We are also at a time where Batman Begins, Casino Royale, all of the big brands are also getting their gritty, realistic kind of feel.
Yes.
But as we saw in the top 10, you're getting a lot of still the end of a lot of franchises that came through the 2000s with your Spider-Man, which also went dark. Pirates of the Caribbean also went dark. Harry Potter also went dark.
That one's a dark one.
Which is just also kind of a trend of franchises. It's like there always seems to be like this slow move into dark a little bit with the characters and the heightening of storylines and stuff. But I think Godzilla just maybe, I don't know if it finds like its niche in like reflecting on things like the war in the Middle East or anything of that nature, like it did in 54 with the original Godzilla and nuclear fallout. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting if there is any of that kind of commentary that would be brought forward with that kind of movie, or if they would just kind of go the route of Transformers and stuff and go, this is just big dumb fun,
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I could see it going either way, honestly. I would hope that they would want to do big dumb fun, but you never know, because Transformers, I'm trying to think of what other movies came out that time that were big blockbusters like that were just big dumb fun.
In 98 or 2007?
In 2007. I'm trying to think, but I can't really think of any, because Transformers, I feel, kind of introduced like a whole kind of different way of, I don't know, just introduced a different sort of filmmaking, I guess is what I'm trying to think of.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think Transformers had that sort of second wind of the 90s, because it was Linkin Park soundtrack, it was a new cast, it was people our age at the time that was the main characters, and that was something that was really random, because Shia LaBeouf was our age and Megan Fox was our age. In the 90s they were always about double our age, so I think we'd caught up to the main characters of the protagonists of the main film. So I think that's what Bay was trying to do, and I honestly think that was sort of the last proper blockbuster we've had before the superhero era, to be honest. The Transformer film. The
Transformers?
One. Yeah.
It's a fair argument to have. You'd have to kind of sit and think about what else there is, other than like your fantasy series like Harry Potter would still wrap up a few years later after this. And you're getting the year after this is Dark Knight and then an Iron Man. So you're jumping. This is really the last time you see
the comic books take over.
Yeah, the comic books do take over for sure.
That's interesting. I'll have to think on that, because that never even crossed my mind. But that's a really valid.
Without
part.
Transformers, Aly, you don't get your Godzilla Kong.
Hey man, bless Michael Bay, Armageddon and Transformers. Let's go.
Michael Bay is, I think he's going for a third wind, honestly, because the 90s he just took charge of, and Transformers after the first one, it was just sort of like, I don't know what he's doing. kind of the thing is it's so hard to get like it kind of Denis Villeneuve is kind of doing it with Dune because he's such a good director, and I feel like he's now caught up with Dune. He has to finish it, so it's taken him away from what he could do. I think based like Armageddon and The Rock, like they're my favorite films of his.
I always say that Bay is at his best when he's not tied to an IP and he's allowed to just do whatever he wants.
He can just be Michael Bay and include as many explosions as he wants, as his heart desires.
Well, it's like the past two Bad Boys, for example, like not directed by Bay, and they don't have the same energy, the same.
You can tell.
Yeah, you can tell there's a difference.
Yeah, Bayham's
there's a method to the madness. Ash.
There is.
Yeah,
that's it.
All right. Well, I feel like we're ready to discuss this movie. We've gone through it, and we're ready to start some casting. Are you guys ready?
I believe so.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
Yeah. Ready or not? Ready or not? Here we go.
2007.
Don't come in a hurry.
I'm gonna ask MJ to marry me.
Spider Pig. Jesus Christ. That's Jason Bourne.
My name is Optimus Prime.
I will know what we can do!
This is Sparta!
You have arrived.
Now, before we start casting, there are rules. We don't just go through this thing willy-nilly. We've got some things in line to make sure you two just don't pull anybody out of anything. So, the rules are, number 1, whoever you cast must be alive. They cannot be dead. They must be living at this time in 2007. Number 2, anyone you cast must be free to do so. They cannot be in prison, a prisoner of war, I guess in this case they'd be in the Middle East, or anything of that nature. They have to be able to show up on set, basically. Pregnancy, where just it's a touchy subject, we're not sure yet. Number 3, anyone you cast must have an acting credit this year, at least one credit in this year or prior to. We usually use IMDb. We do not count television or voiceover work. We acknowledge that those are things and they're real and they're important. But for the sake of our sanity and the show, we just count movie credits. We are flexible on casting teenagers and kids, so you can cast a teen kid. Luckily, this doesn't matter in this episode, but usually we have a buffer of about 3 years or so. And finally, the most important rule, number 4, anyone you cast in this movie will lose all major acting credits from this year we've traveled to. So if you're like a Nicolas Cage and you like to do like 7 movies in 1 year, sorry about you, you're going to lose those movies if somebody cast you. So depending on who the director is, you gotta pick your people wisely. So speaking of the director, you two are casting Aly and Ash, that is, and I will be the director this time. I don't know how I got put in this spot, but here I am. You two will present me with 2 distinct cast lists that I will choose between to create the ultimate new cast list for Godzilla. I have 2 power-ups just to instill some order in the chaos. The first one, the switcheroo. At any point, I can retroactively change or any 2 actors that have been placed on the board in their respective roles. I can move these 2 actors at any time. So basically, at any point in the thing, I go, you know what? I like that person here, and I'm going to move that person in their spot. And we don't do it very often, but it's a fun thing to throw out there here and there. The second and most important power-up, the override, is if the director doesn't like either of the choices, they have the option to insert their own pick into the role. But it can only be done once per episode and must be done during the casting of the character in question. Cannot be done retroactively, must happen on the spot. So basically, if I don't like either of your choices, I get to go, you know what, here's my guy, here's my girl. We're going to go with this way, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Uh-oh.
So, before we get into our main cast, we do have our 30 seconds or less round. Now, the 30 seconds or less round, this is what we would refer to as below the line cast or just our supporting cast. And these are characters we love and we think they're great, but they just either the screen time is too small or we just have to be respectful of our time here for you listeners and our own time. So this is kind of a speed cast. We're just going to name a role and each of you will give your picks as I choose them in rapid fire. You're not bound to the rules here. You know, we just treat this as like a cameo basically rule like we do up top. And our goal is to try and work through these roles in 30 seconds or less. Are you guys ready?
I believe so. We'll see.
We shall see. That seems to be that's the theme of the day. It's like, we'll see how this goes.
It's all fun.
I'm nervous.
So, from the bottom to the top, we have Sergeant O'Neill, played by Doug Savant. Appears that people know him from Desperate Housewives and Teen Wolf. Dr. Elise Chapman, played by Vicki Lewis. Finding Nemo and Pushing Tin are her credentials. Mayor Ebert. I guess is his name actually Ebert in the cast listing?
Yeah, it's Mayor Ebert. So
Emmerich did not hide this at all.
And it's
screw you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's very pointed.
Take this, Ebert. Roger.
Subtle.
So Mayor Ebert will be played by Michael Lerner. You may know him from movies like Elf or Barton Fink for you Coen Brothers fans. Harry Shearer is played by Charles Kamen. He is the TV host, news reporter, anchor guy. He's been in The Simpsons as a voice actor. He's in this is Spinal Tap and The Truman Show. So he's just kind of the sleazy TV reporter guy that our main lead actress is trying to get to hire her as a more permanent member of the show. Lucy Paolini is played by Arabella Field. You might know her from appearances in Seinfeld and American Horror Story. A lot of character actors or just TV type actors, they don't have very large prominent roles, but you recognize them. There's those faces. And then to round it out, we have Colonel Hicks, played by Kevin Dunn. You probably know him as the dad in Transformers, or you may have seen him in things like Warrior or Chain Reaction. So yeah, he's the colonel that's just busting Matthew Broderick's balls this entire movie. So that's about as good as I could put it. Yeah. So you guys ready?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, from the bottom to the top, I will flip the imaginary coin. Aly's going to go first, and I will say a name, and you give me your name, and then Ash will follow suit right after that. Okay?
All right.
And here we go in 3, 2, 1. Aly, Sergeant O'Neill.
Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. Very interesting. Okay, I like that so far. Okay. Ash.
Alexander Skarsgård.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Late era of teen heartthrob time, Josh Hartnett after Lucky Number 11, or early Alexander Skarsgård. It's a smaller role. Let's give Skarsgård a jump start to his Hollywood career here. I'm going Skarsgård.
All right.
Dr. Elise Chapman, Aly, who you got?
Allison Hannigan.
Love me some How I Met Your Mother. That's a good one. Playing on the heartstrings. Ash.
I've gone for American Beauty's Thora Birch. Hocus Pocus.
Oh, I just watched that for the first time. By the way,
did you like it?
Yeah, it was weird.
It is a weird movie, especially
now. Yeah, that's why. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, Thora Birch, she's great. I think Allison Hannigan, just for the comedic chops and stuff, she's gonna have a lot of fun cutting it up with all the scientists and stuff. I like that pick a lot.
Yeah.
All right, for Mayor Ebert now, Aly, who do you have to play a critic, I guess, or just a mayor of New York?
Wayne Knight.
That's okay. Yeah, him and Michael Lerner could just be brothers, basically. So I can see that casting.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Ash, who do you got?
I had Wayne Knight, but I changed it. I've gone for a different approach. I was like, who else could it be? I've gone for Alan Ruck, who you might know from Speed, Twister, or Succession.
Yeah. Or from Ferris Bueller. He's
Ferris Bueller, of course.
Best friend, yeah.
I like, you know what? I think that's fun. Like, it is fun to lean into the Michael Lerner role a bit, but I like the idea of Alan Ruck being the trying to piece everything together while his city's falling apart, like anxiety-induced person. So I'm going to go with Alan Ruck here.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. All right. His the TV counterpart, the other antagonist of the show, Harry Shearer. Aly, who do you got?
Timothy Oliphant. Is that how you say his last name? I think, right?
Yeah. Oliphant.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
That would be fun.
A little more heartthrobby this way. A little bit. Like, he's kind of he's a good-looking guy.
He's more than that, but
Santa Clarita Diet.
Yes.
So this is right before Justified, I believe. So he'll be. Yeah, I could see him. He's good at playing a jerk too. So like you could easily see it being like.
He's also funny too, because like Ash said, Santa Clarita Diet. He's really funny in that.
Very
so
cool.
Funny.
All right, who you have to challenge that, Ash?
I love Timothy. That's such a good pick. And I just want to tell you, he was the studio's choice for Iron Man, by the way, at this time.
Really?
Yeah. And John Favreau was the one that persuaded them to go for Robert Downey Jr. But the studio wanted Timothy. But anyway,
listen, studio doesn't know everything all the time, guys.
That's true.
There you go. I've gone for Christopher McDonald, who you might know from Happy Gilmore.
Oh, that's a really good one.
Cheesy smile.
That's fun. I like that a lot.
That's a good one. Dang.
That could be a lot of fun.
I like Timothy, though.
I think I'm going to go Timmy Oliphant, though. I feel like he's going to fit the cast just a little bit better, in my opinion. Christopher's fun, though. We don't get to see him a lot on the show, so I'm glad he got brought up.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. Lucy, who do you have for Animal's wife?
Julie Bowen from The Middle.
Oh, okay. And also Modern Family, right?
Modern Family. That's what I meant, not The Middle.
Okay.
My bad.
The main wife of the show.
Yeah, it's a Modern Family.
Yeah. That's a good
one.
one.
The blonde one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And Ash, who do you got?
I went for an early Kerry Washington, actually.
Oh, I like that.
I'm going Kerry Washington.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no. That's a good one. That's the right choice.
All right, let's round this 30 seconds or less up. Colonel Hicks, Aly, who do you got?
Ron Perlman.
Okay, very intimidating. Hellboy himself. Okay, I can see that. Ash, who do you have?
Yeah, I've gone for the sort of same kind of person. I've gone for David Morse from The Rock, Green Mile.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's gonna be in a jerk. Yeah, but you kind of he comes around in Green Mile for sure. Especially, he's one of those character actors. Mm-hmm. Man, that's a tough one. I think I want Ron Perlman just because it'll be like, oh, it's Bumper, we love him. Yeah,
that guy.
David Morse is a great choice as well too. But like, I think think that's going to be a great trailer. Like you throw him in the shot, you're like, oh, Ron Perlman's in this?
Yeah,
I gotta watch
for
this.
sure.
All right, well, that's 30 seconds or less. I feel that's a pretty solid cast. You got it blends between some dramatics and some comedy here, and you kind of need that in this movie, especially with this script for sure.
I'm impressed. Aly, Timothy is such a good pick. I really like that one.
That's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's a little different than the original Charles Kamen role, where he's a much older character, where Timothy's just going to be like this playboy of like, yeah, I'm used to this. Everybody wants me. Why don't you want me? Kind of thing. And she's because I'm a journalist. Damn it.
Yeah, listen to me. I don't know. And he can command a room. I'm just saying.
100%. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone through the supporting cast, and the good news is that our main cast is smaller this time around. I just felt that we wanted to spend more time focusing on the top 4. That's right, 4 this time. And I think that each of them are great, and they do really interesting work, and I feel like it's underrated, a lot of them. And we'll get into each one here, but to just quickly run through our top 4 actors for this movie. We have Philippe Roache, the French spy, I guess, if you will, who is played by Jean Reno. Mm-hmm. Most people know him from a handful of things, mainly Leon the Professional, amongst other smaller films like The Pink Panther and stuff like that. Then we have Victor Animal Paolotti, however you say his name. Hank Azaira of Simpsons fame. He's a great comedic actor, pops up here and there in a lot of other things, but that's mainly what people seem to know him for, is playing many different voices in The Simpsons. And after that, we have Audrey Timmons, played by Maria Pitillo. This is played by... I said that right. Audrey Timmons, played by Maria Pitillo. She's our journalist, and she's our love interest, and I would say other protagonist of the movie. And our top person that we're going to put up here is Dr. Nico Talopoulos, played by Matthew Broderick. So that's our top 4. We're going to go through them from the bottom to the top, same as before. So, Aly, you went first in the 30 or less, so that means, Ash, you will go first here. So we're going to start with Philippe Roache.
You got a problem talking?
Well, no, sir, I'm fine.
All right. Keep it moving.
Oh, thank you very much.
Elvis Presley movies. He was the king.
Played by Jean Reno. This is basically, like we said earlier, he's a spy. At first, you don't know if he works for the government, the American government, whose government. And then it turns out that him and his team of Frenchmen have a particular interest in Godzilla and are trying to basically just save the world in their own way. And when we get to the end of towards the end of the third or second act, they bring in Nick Tatopoulos to help them out, and they discover the nest, and pretty much is a big role in helping make sure that the day is saved. Jean Reno is great in this role. I think this is my first Jean Reno role ever watching. Yeah. Maybe Mission Impossible, which he's also in. Those two probably were pretty close together for me watching, period. But he's great in this. I think he's a lot of fun. They play off the whole French thing pretty often throughout the movie. Yeah. Any other thoughts about it beyond that?
I think it's actually quite rare to see someone who's meant to be like the tough guy, the guy that's trying to help everyone out, the Steven Seagal, the executive decision guy, being also the comic relief in the film as well, which is quite. And
it's funny because it's an inversion, because in other movies, like, he would be the lead. Like the French Secret Service men, the patriot trying to cover up the mess. He would be the lead guy, and then the scientist and the journalist and the camera guy would all be the supporting cast. But he's actually a little lower on the totem pole than them. So it's kind of fun to see that. Apparently, useful facts is that all his French agents in the film are also called Jean.
Oh.
So,
well.
Jean.
The only French name there is, apparently.
I guess so. Americans.
You call this coffee.
Now, I will concede that Jean Reno is a very French man, and the accent's very there. So in this version, I encourage you guys to think outside the box. We didn't have to stick to the French idea. You could play from different countries and cultures and stuff, whatever you wanted. But Ash, I'm going to let you go first. So tell me, who is your Secret Service guy? Who's your Philippe Roache?
Yeah, I mean, I love this character. This is like I said, a comic relief. So they need to have the ability to have comedic timing, especially with their culture. And I need someone. I mean, I think Jean Reno was maybe globally the bigger name, but I think Matthew Broderick was the American name in this movie as well.
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah, Jean Reno coming off Leon and Mission Impossible, these big movies. So I didn't go for a big name, but I did go for someone who isn't from America, but not from France, because the whole thing was it's from the French Polynesian and they wanted to be a patriot. So I tried to find someone who was actually not a name, but someone who's got that military confidence. So he's only done like 2 American films just prior to this, but they were 2 big movies. That was Batman Begins and The Last Samurai. And he's slowly establishing himself in that genre. And he does later do a Godzilla film later down the line. So I will be picking Ken Watanabe. You might know him as the fake Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins.
Yes.
but and he's in Inception. Christopher Nolan took a liking to him. But
yes.
He's very much established himself as that intellectual man from abroad who comes over to wrap things up or give some wisdom, especially in Batman Begins, even
he's
in
also,
the Godzilla movies.
Yeah, a lot of people know him also from Last Samurai. That's his other big movie. So
a fantastic film.
Yes, fantastic movie.
That's a really good choice.
If you haven't watched Shogun yet, guys,
I need to
start watching it as soon as quickly.
It's like I told you and Rowdy, there's too many things to catch up on.
That's true.
I agree.
Okay, Ken Watanabe. I like that a lot. One. Okay, very cool. I'm processing it. I'm gonna process it while Aly gives me her choice. So who do you have, Aly?
Alrighty. So I was trying to stay on brand with somebody French, but I just could not find somebody.
Hard.
It was tough. Yeah. It was really tough. So instead, I decided to go with Antonio Banderas. The only movies that he's in this year, or he's really just voice acting this year, because he is in Shrek the Third, of course, as Puss in Boots.
Sure.
But he's also doing Borderlands, and he's also doing a couple of other things. Yeah, that's what IMDb said. Okay. I'm just doing what the people said. But yeah, I'm going to give you Antonio Banderas. I think that he would be able to command and be able to play that presence that John Reno needs. I think it could be really interesting.
Yeah, both have interesting charisma. Obviously, Antonio has like that typical, a little more leading man charisma, and then Ken Watanabe has like that very stilted but yet very mysteriousness about him. So I like those aspects for both of them a lot. It's a really tough one, but I like the idea. So you could go with Antonio, or like either he's from Spain Secret Service or something, or Mexico if you wanted to go that route as well. But with Ken, you could go to the full Japanese tie-in.
You have that option.
You could wait. Oh no. Oh, Aly, I'm so sorry.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Because if now my brain's going. Yeah. Because we talked about trying to fix this movie. We haven't talked about it, but one of the things you could do is Ken is from Japan's country, and he's like, hey, we're trying to fix this problem. We've had this happen in the past before.
Dang it.
There you go, Nick.
Nick, why'd you have to think about it?
Oh, yeah.
Paint the picture, Nick. He's the director.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Because the thing people complain about all the time is that like they're like, well, he doesn't look like Godzilla or anything. So it does. If anything, you could almost say like him come in and be like, well, that's not Godzilla. I've seen Godzilla. That happened. We don't talk about it. It's disclosed. Kind of thing. If you wanted to,
that's good.
You could, something a little more aloof to where people that are fans of the Toho stuff could go, oh, it's not actually. It's this version. Like the radiation affected them.
There's a different one. Yeah.
There's ways to go with that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
That's good.
That's smart. That's smart. Yeah. Let's get Ken Watanabe in there. Let's get a little tie-in, some Toho Japanese tie-in there for us. Let's write him down.
Yeah.
Love it. Very cool.
Banderas would have been fun though.
Banderas would have been fun. It's the same. It's very same energy as Jean Reno, where he's the guy that because Nick at the top of the list, he's not an action guy, so he has to have somebody to drag him through all this mess. And so either guy, especially a younger Ken Watanabe at this point, like both of them will be able to be like, I've seen this before. Come on, like when they're in the arena, it's like it's time to go. I suggest we run.
Yeah, no, Ken was the better choice for sure on that one. That was a solid pick.
Very cool. All right, moving on. Next up, we have Victor Animal Pagliari. Played by Hank Azaira, as I've said before, of Simpsons fame. He's, I believe he was the original voice for Apu, and then he stepped down once it became like a little less culturally, a little problematic for him to play that role a little bit. But I think he's great in this role.
Yeah, I agree.
Like I wish Hank Azaira he's also in Heat. I remember him being in Heat because he talks about the scene with Pacino talking about he's got a great ass. He's in that scene because they're like, what was it like? And he's just like, I was terrified because he had done it very naturally like the rest of the time, and then he just screamed it like on the 90th take. So he's just like, that's just me being terrified. But other than that, I think he's a lot of fun, and I wish that he had gotten to do some more prominent roles.
He's super fun in Mystery Men. That whole movie in general is just a load of fun.
Yeah. A lot of just 90s gems he was a part of, for sure.
He's a good actor, just around, isn't he? Never the lead, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, never really got the big push, but I just wish he had a bit more of a push as like the supporting character actor type. But Animal is just the typical New Yorker, a cameraman. He works at the same news outlet as Audrey, and he's not afraid to break the rules, Aly. Meaning that he's willing to like film Godzilla walking down the street and almost get stepped on. It's probably one of the more iconic scenes of the movie. It was in the trailer. And I think when people think of Godzilla 98, they often will think of that scene where he's just like frozen and freaking out. Azaira expressed his disappointment working on the movie. He said its failure to boost his career profile as intended, noting he fell sick several times while shooting because it was raining the entire time in the movie. He went on to say that Godzilla became the poster child for everything wrong with Hollywood in terms of budget and marketing, which I kind of agree with. Like, they obviously rushed it a bit. They just pulled in these... Emmerich brought his Emmerickness to it, but you could tell that he didn't have like the original Toho spirit in mind at all. Like we saw in the comments, he was like, it's whatever. I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
But apparently he mimics his Simpson character in a scene when he is looking for Godzilla. I don't remember that. Do you remember that? I don't remember
that
either.
It's the scene where he's about to film Godzilla with the camera just before he gets stomped on. And he goes, oh, geez, just when he's on the camera.
I didn't even catch on to that. That's right, because he's also Mo in The Simpsons. I forgot about that.
So he's like trying to tap the video into the recorder, and he's like, geez. And he does that. Yeah.
Okay. Very fun. Okay, so Ash made it. So Ash, you get to take it here. So tell me, who is your live wire of the group, I would say, in this movie? Who's your animal?
Yeah, so again, like I said, comic relief for the last character, but I guess this guy is sort of like the sort of outsider. He's linked with Audrey. He doesn't really know Nick, and he doesn't really know Philippe, so he only knows Audrey there. But he is pivotal to this movie. And you want someone who knows New York. You want someone you believe lives in the city, because the city itself is a character as well. So it's just in Manhattan. So I want someone has been there their whole life. So I've gone for someone a bit different. I haven't gone. I wasn't sure where to go with this one, like a big name or a small name, or someone who looked tough, someone who didn't look tough. Because Hank Azaria is quite well built, but you never really exploit that in the film. So I've gone for someone, and it's Tyler Perry. Now I love Tyler Perry, and it was and I had about 4 other options before Tyler Perry, but he just kept coming back to my mind, and I could see him as the New Yorker. I could see him in that panic state when the foot comes down. He can do comic really well. And I think he has a lot of scenes of Audrey as well. So he has to have that chemistry of Audrey, which is pivotal for me. So, and I think Tyler Perry, if you've seen him in Gongo as well, he's starting to play kind of a serious role. He nails those scenes with Ben Affleck, absolutely nails them. And he has that sort of grounded quality to him. So go for Tyler Perry for Animal.
Yeah. Tyler's an interesting, because obviously the Medea movies are the thing, and he has built this whole empire. He has a whole studio based out in Atlanta now and stuff. It's really interesting. Yeah. And he has like this interesting mixture of comedy, and when he does the drama pieces, just as Tyler Perry, so he knows how to do both. So that's that's interesting. I like that. Let me think on the Aly. Tell me what you've got.
Oh man, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge fan of my pick. I really struggled with this. This was a role that I had a lot of trouble with. I'm not sure why, but I just went ahead and I chose Mark Wahlberg. I don't know. There was something. There was something about where he could do the comedy. We've seen in Ted that he's able to do the comedy of everything and the other guys.
Yes.
When it comes to him being serious, I'm not sure. And that's why this is a weird pick for me. I'm not super confident in it.
Gotcha.
To be 100% honest.
Okay. Marky Mark. Okay. I like Mark. Yeah, these are both interesting because it's like, on one hand, Tyler Perry's very much, I think, known for comedy. And then at the same time, Mark does comedy, but has always tried to be more of the serious action guy. Really, you would see him normally in like a lead role type scenario, but he's shown obviously like his ability to be, comedic with Will Ferrell and stuff, and other guys and things like that, or Ted even.
Yeah, Ted. He's hilarious in Ted.
Tyler's interesting because while he has the ability to do drama and comedy, it's almost like he's got like a split personality thing going on, because like you never see them blend together that much.
That's fair.
If that makes sense. Like when he's Medea, he's Medea. And then when he's doing his dramas, it's drama. It's almost kind of like how the Medea movies are in a nutshell. It's like, because they're very tonally, they shift a lot.
Yes.
But it's when they're doing that scene, it works. Like it matches. It's just, hey, we're gonna have some Medea fun in the middle of this domestic disturbance situation going on.
Well, but I will say, no, Ash has a point though when it comes to Gone Girl, because I remember seeing Tyler Perry and being like, Tyler Perry's in this? What is this? Oh, I can't take this seriously. And then he knocked it out of the park as the lawyer. So I mean, that's a solid pick.
For sure.
No. And the thing with Mark Wahlberg as well, I'm a big fan of Mark Wahlberg, and he definitely can do serious acting. Like The Fighter, he's absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about The Fighter.
Big part in getting that movie made. And he does serious acting in all of his comedies as well, but he just has that comedic timing. I think his timing is what makes the comedy really well done. But he's such a big name as well. So it's an interesting choice for Nick.
Yeah. I could see where both picks are coming from, and I like aspects of both, but there's something missing, I think, from both. I think you guys are going to make me force my hand here.
That's fair.
Uh-oh. Because I'm looking for with Hank Azaria, he brought sort of a kinetic energy. Sort of, there's a level of unhingedness to it where it fits into his character of like, well, I'm just going to do what I want to do, or what I think's right. When it comes time for him to grab the camera, grab Audrey, and go we're gonna go figure out what's going on, or the willingness. Like Mark Wahlberg and Tyler Perry, I think both would be willing to like step out, get the cam shot and stuff. But I want somebody that's a little fearless, a little bit of a daredevil.
Hey, that's totally fair.
So my override, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, will be the one and only jackass himself, Johnny Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
Whoa! I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
I'm not mad about it.
He's at the end of that current run of the 2000s, where you're getting Dukes of Hazzard, a lot of different movies where he's trying to kind of be the next big kind of comedy guy, and he does decently well. I enjoy him in a lot of stuff, and in the Jackass movies, he's kind of the Bugs Bunny character.
Yes,
he's always just destroying his friends for his own amusement, and it's always so funny, especially in Jackass Forever. Like he has that taser and he finds the perfect moments to, like, they'll be laughing, something's going, he just goes and then you're like, oh my god, just laughing and rolling even more. But no, he's done 2 Jackass movies at this point. He's voicing the Jackass game this year, which I don't know how a Jackass game
I don't know how that would work at all. I'm gonna
have to
look that up.
I didn't even know that.
There is, so. And he tries some action stuff as well. You know, he had done Walking Tall, I believe, was the one that he was in with The Rock. Yeah. And then right before that, he's doing The Ringer. So that was kind of an interesting one to talk about. But he likes to kind of play in comedy, but also some drama and stuff. But yeah, I just think he has some similar energy to Frank Azaira here, and I like that. Yeah, I like having that in the mix, the concoction of our leading cast here. So I'm gonna override you guys. So sorry, but.
We made him do it early.
The one.
Sorry,
You made me do it early. So now I'm kind of worried, but I have I'm having high hopes here. You guys love this movie, so I don't think you're going to screw it up. So
I do love Johnny Knoxville too. That's a good one.
That's true.
He does fit the bill, to be fair. He fits the bill exactly for Animal, to be fair.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah,
I mean, with a name like Animal, it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought you were going to go Steve-O at first, and I was like, "Oh my god,
what
Nick!"
Are you doing?
He just rolls down the tubes, or Godzilla eat it.
Godzilla, eat me! Come on!
I don't know how a Steve-O impression really works, but all right, we got him. Write it down. Up next, we're up to the top 2. First, we're going to do Audrey Timmons.
Regardless of what happens to us, the most important thing is that this building be destroyed immediately before they can escape out into the city. Reporting live from Madison Square Garden, this is Audrey Timmons for WIDF News.
Played by Maria Pitillo. She is the former love interest of our main character, Nick. She moved to New York, become a reporter, a respected reporter at that. And she's just too nice at heart. She's one of those types. You know, she just is so earnest. She wants to do the right thing, but she's not going to go cut any corners. And that's why she doesn't sleep with Harry in the early parts. So she's trying to but she does kind of pull one bad string where she steals the info from Nick to kind of become popular or like get the story across. That gets stolen from her. So she learns her lesson though. And she aims to do him right and get the info out there to warn everybody. So she's just struggling with this chaotic nature of the city on top of a giant monster trying to throw everything into it. So I took that one. Aly, did you make the one before that?
No, that was Ash.
Ash did. So Ash, it's back to you. So who do you have, Ash, for Audrey?
Yes, so Audrey. I actually adore the character of Audrey. I don't think I've seen the actress in much besides maybe a guest episode of Friends. Maybe
she got hated on in this movie, and I don't get it.
Yeah, I
don't get it because she got a Razzie Award for worst supporting actress.
I don't think that's
deserved. She nails this character. I don't know. I think she just suffered. Sometimes actors get tied to a quote unquote bad movie. Yeah. And then they're just the one that receives the most of the blame for it. They're like, oh, that girl. And you're like, no, she was perfect in the role.
Yeah, I have no criticisms of her.
Yeah. No, I mean, exactly right. She did exactly what she needed to for the role, and I believed her. And like we know how to describe her because she did her job. So yeah, I think people just hate on people for the sake of it. I don't, and it still happens today. And it's like, well, if you hate an actress, why? You don't know them. Like, you can have your opinion, which is great, but to not watch anything else that they've done is just. And sometimes I don't mind it because you want the chance for them to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
I just, for me, I mean, I loved her in this role, and I'd love to have seen her in something else to see what she could have done. But I mean, I haven't seen her in any like mainstream or commercial films. But yeah, it's sad that people just grab onto this like.
She suffered kind of the same fate as the lead actress from the Super Mario Brothers movie from '93 who played the princess. Like they kind of both kind of similar paths there. Lizard people in New York City.
I mean, it's Hollywood, isn't it? I mean, it's kind of like what happened to Ashley Judd as well. So it's just like people, and public opinion is like scripture at the moment. So
for sure.
But anyway, this so I've gone for someone it's actually quite sad talking about this because she's no longer with us. But she's a fantastic actress, and I love her to bits. And she has that charisma. And I've seen her in a film with Sandra Oh, which was hilarious. And it's just about them two fighting. But I've gone for Anne Heck, who unfortunately passed away in the last 2-3 years. But if you've seen Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones, with that charisma that she has, she's so confident. She always is very dominant. And I know this goes against type for this role, but I feel like I want a stronger, more dominant female character in this role to sort of, and I think she is more dominant than I think Nick in this role, but I want Anne Heck to take it to another level.
A little more headstrong, for sure.
Yeah. She is very, very strong. You can tell from her authority, her presence, that she's always like trying to be one up on someone, and she does it so easily as well. So yeah, I've gone for Anne Heck.
Okay, yeah. She's known for a lot of more, I wouldn't say artsy movies, just a lot of drama, 90s and stuff. Like you said, Volcano. She was in I Know What You Did Last Summer. 6 Days, 7 Nights. She was also in the Psycho remake from.
That's right.
Year,
that's right.
So not mad about pulling her out of that potentially, because why would you make a beat for beat remake of Psycho?
It was unnecessary.
But yeah, she's made a lot of TV. She was in John Q. That's a underrated Denzel Washington movie as well.
Oh, that's a very sad movie. Yeah.
That's good though. It's really good. Okay, I see what you're going for there. A little more strong-willed, but she could definitely play like, I'm just trying to do the right thing. I want to be a reporter. I want, this is what my dream goal has been. Little fish out of water. I could see that a little bit with her. She has a little more edge to her for sure. Yeah. But I feel like she has the acting chops that pull back on it a little bit. Aly,
yes.
Who do you have to combat?
So I decided to go, mine's also blonde as well. I decided to go with Amy Smart, who is free this year. She's in Just Friends and The Butterfly Effect. She also was in Varsity Blues. I think she has, I've never seen Crank, but yeah, she's in that too, I guess. And so I think my mindset with her is that she kind of has this like innocent look to her. She's always had a very innocent kind of doe-like look to her. But I could also see her, because I mean, there is that one scene where she ends up, she takes the confidential tape away from Nick in order to, and so I think I think she has the capability to be able to act really innocent or be really innocent, but also be able to take those chances when
kind of be tempted by like, I've seen how I'm not, with the Harry character, it's shown like a lot of people cut corners to get ahead, and she's seeing like, maybe I have to play this game a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
And so she dips her hand in, she opens, the box takes it out and realizes that there's ramifications for your actions.
Yes.
So yeah, but no, Amy Smart's great. Yeah, she's I believe she's the one in Van Wilder.
I think she's
Just Friends. Yep. And then Rat Race, she's fun in that. Starship Troopers. But yeah, Crank's the Jason Statham movie where he's got a thing on his heart and he has to keep moving or he dies.
I've never seen it, but
good accent.
Oh, thank you. Halfway through that, I was like, I don't know if Ash is going to be insulted.
No,
or like,
I thought I was at the pub with my friends. Then I was like, oh, hey man.
Well, there you go.
Confidence boosted.
Well, after that compliment, Ash, I apologize, but I think I'm going to go with Amy Smart.
No, I like Amy Smart is actually quite a smart choice. Excuse the pun, but no, I like it. I really do like that.
No, I think the for lack of a better phrasing, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed aspect of Amy Smart, she does look like the girl from like a smaller town that's coming to town. And then with Anne, I think she just has a little bit more world weariness about her, and so she's going to have to she would have to pull back more, and where Amy has that kind of natural charisma that we're looking for about her. So. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Amy here. Shout out to Maria Pitillo. I wish you were in more movies in the 90s and such.
Definitely.
All right, rounding it out. We are at the top of the list, top of the cast, number 1 on the cast sheet.
Oh my God.
He is formerly known as Ferris Bueller, but in this movie, he is Dr. Nick Papopoulos.
It's the Topolis.
Played by Matthew Broderick, that's right. You know him very well from War Games and things of that nature from the 80s and 90s. But in this movie, he's a scientist. He's the worm guy, as you might hear him be called time and time again. They don't seem to get his name right a lot. But he's a scientist, a loner, still in love with Audrey. He had proposed, and she said no, Allydale. Can you imagine?
No, I can't.
And so now he's back in town. The government's called him in because the nuclear radiated worms he's been studying give him direct ties to the radiated giant lizard that they're trying to track down in New York City. Who else are you going to call in this situation?
But the worm guy.
But yeah, he's trying to help the government, and then he's trying to help Audrey at the same time. And unknowingly, Audrey steals the tape, and so they blame him for it, kick him out, and that's when Philip shows up to help him and the French team go in, take out the eggs, and get out of there before they could blow up Godzilla.
That's it.
So You need somebody who's a little quirky, kind of nerdy, but also has kind of leading man looks. It's a hard gamble here because like and there was something that I thought about as well because with most of these big blockbuster movies, you want a leading man, you want a name here, but I don't really know if that's necessary with a Godzilla movie. If you're trying to stay generally true to Godzilla, it's more about there is the Godzilla part of it, the big giant pieces, the set pieces and stuff, but there's also the human aspect. And oftentimes or not, we've joked about this multiple times. I'm like, I don't need the people. You could give me a 90-minute movie of Kong and Godzilla just fighting, and I would watch it. Yes. But as -1 has shown us, and like 54 before it, when you nail the characters and you make you care about the characters, that's when it's important. And I do think in the 98 version, I like all these characters. I liked all of them.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for them.
Yeah. They're lovable. They're likable. Apparently.
Yeah. For maybe the lack the not so well aged graphics of Godzilla and stuff, like still the characters are fun and engaging, and you care about them, and it's not. You don't feel like they're acting here or they're being terrible. So I feel like and I feel like Matthew was a really good combination for this role. Like he does have leading man looks, but he knows how to be quirky and fun like he is in the producers and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, Aly, you made that last one. So I guess we don't keep points here, but here's the tiebreaker. But Aly, who do you have in mind for Nick Tatopoulos?
So this one was a tough one for me because as a kid, I had a really weird crush on Matthew Broderick. So this was a tough one. Him and this, and do not judge me. We're having honesty hour here, folks. Him and this and Inspector Gadget. For some reason, I had the biggest crush on him at this time.
Aww.
Biggest crush. Anyways, so this was a bit of a tough one for me. But I'm gonna give you somebody that maybe you wouldn't initially think of, but I think he could do it. He's proven himself by this point, in my opinion. I'm gonna give you Heath Ledger. Because by this point, he's in multiple different roles. We've seen him as the bad boy in 10 Things I Hate About You. Yes. But we also have just seen him in Brokeback Mountain that came out in 2005 or 2006. Mm-hmm. So we can see that he can do serious roles. He's an attractive man, but I also think that I think he could nail it.
Obviously, yes, leading man. We're a year out from The Dark Knight and his passing. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
But he's a leading man looks, and he always went out of his way to try to be more than that. He always wanted to try and challenge himself. That's why he did more Brokeback Mountains, and this year it's I'm Not There, the Bob Dylan movie. Where he plays one of the versions of Bob Dylan. Which I don't really know.
8 roles.
Yeah, I don't know why you need 8 versions of Bob Dylan.
Yeah, that's wild.
I guess I need to rewatch it, but.
Yeah, it's a good.
I can see a Dave Bowie 8 versions, but I need to re up on my Bob Dylan-ness history, I guess. But it makes me think of Brothers Grimm.
Yeah,
because in that one, him and Matt Damon are playing the brothers that write all the horror stories and stuff, or the fairy tales. I'm sorry, they're more horror back in the day.
Yes, yeah.
But he's more the quiet, mousy. Very keeps to himself loner of the two. So so he has the ability for sure.
He's got the range for sure.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, and especially off of the run he's coming off of, where it's just kind of all over the place. It's not like well, he just did this movie because the last time The Patriot at A Knight's Tale were 2001, Four Feathers. At this point, he's just kind of all over the place experimenting and stuff. So I see what you're going with there. Yeah, I could see that for sure. You throw some glasses on him, you don't even need them per se, but I could see that working for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let me sift on that while Ash, give me who you've got for our Nick Tatopoulos.
Yeah. Heath Ledger's amazing, and Monsters Ball. If you haven't seen that, he's in it very briefly, but he's a scene stealer in that film.
Okay, I'll add that to my list as well.
Scene stealer, really, yeah.
It's known for another scene, but he's good.
Yeah, definitely known for another scene. Halle Berry. Anyway, so right. Nick Tatopoulos. This is a hard one because it's not your typical protagonist or main star. I was trying to rein in the name for this one because I actually agree that Godzilla should be the main character. It's followed swiftly by the city of New York, and then you have the 4 people as an ensemble. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want them to all complement each other. Now I'm giving this guy a bit of a revival. He's had a bit of a stint in this decade, and he had a good period in the 95 to the 2002, 2003. And he definitely can do quirky. If anything, the word quirky, I think I can relate to him.
Okay.
But I want him to take it up a notch. And he was very good in a film with dealing with another monster. And I kind of want that to be a running thing. So I am giving you David Arquette. And I'm telling you why I'm giving you David Arquette. Because in 8-Legged Freaks, he absolutely nailed the tough guy role. However, you look at his previous films, even in Scream as Dewey, he can nail the dweeb, the dork, the geek. he has that in the bag. So he can play both characters at the same time quite well. Yeah. And I kind of like his way of acting. I kind of want to give him that revival because after Eight-Legged Freaks, for 5 years, he's just doing a few films. Well, there's another big film that comes out, but I want that guy to come back to Hollywood in a big way and not just in the Scream franchise. And I know someone's a big fan of Ready to Rumble as well. So, I mean, obviously, I want to...
You're trying to play on my heartstrings here, sir.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that. I was like, that episode that just dropped.
Yeah, yes. I'm playing a little dirty, but I do see him in this role because I think he can do both of the geeky and the leading man quality.
Yeah. Arquette's an interesting beast because like he started up as like this up and coming Hollywood actor. Like, oh, look at he was in like a photo of like all the like the serious actors, if you will, quote unquote, like the DiCaprios or the Bales of the world. And then he got stuck in Scream, and it's almost like he went the route of like a Sean William Scott. It was like, he's a goofball. He's the cut up. He's the
typecast,
and it fits his character, like who he is as a human being. Like if you watch Ready to Rumble, that's very much what he is. And then you see like the documentary about him trying to redeem himself to the world of wrestling. It's very much like that's just who David is. But he does have a likability about him, which is hard to like dismiss when because the initial reaction is very much like, I don't know about David Arquette, but then you kind of get to know like that he has some more range than you think. And so it's you want to root for the guy. And you kind of wish he hadn't got pigeonholed into that role of the goofball or like the other Steve Stifler, of that period of time. Oh, that's tough. You both kind of played up my heartstrings. I think you're both trying to cheat. That's the rule here. Love Heath Ledger. Wish we had gotten some more stuff out of him. There's plenty of roles that you can now look at in the past like time since he's been gone and go, he could have been great in that.
Yeah.
And then Arquette's just that underdog you want to root for, though. I really want to put Heath Ledger here because part of my brain goes like, oh, you kind of need a leading man, big name in this movie. And then part of me is also like, well, does David Arquette fit the character better?
Yeah.
I think we're going to give David Arquette the shot.
That's totally
I think we're going to give it to him.
That's a good one.
I don't know if Corey's screaming while listening to this in the distance or not.
He's probably jumping off a bridge right now.
Probably but I think he would understand, at least, hopefully. Like, because Arquette is kind of the goofball, and he in other roles, he can dial it back, and you get to see like what I guess the rest of Hollywood saw initially in the mid-90s and stuff. Like, oh, this guy has some stuff going on. He can kind of do both. So it's kind of the thing. Like you tell a joke and everybody suddenly goes, oh, it's the comedian. Mm-hmm. And then you're like, no, I can do more. It's like, no, make us laugh. Come on.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. We're going to go David Arquette. Wow. I think I feel okay about that. Yeah. I like that. So.
Man, you did not have an easy job.
Do it.
You did not have an easy job.
I did not. I blame all of you for this. So
you're welcome.
18.
Let's wrap this up. I'm going to give you the final cast of Godzilla in 2007. Starting from the bottom to the top, including our 30 or less cast, Sergeant O'Neill will be played by an up-and-coming Alexander Skarsgård. Dr. Elise Chapman will cut jokes by Allison Hannigan of How I Met Your Mother fame. Mm-hmm. Mayor Ebert will be played by Alan Ruck of Spin City and Ferris Bueller's fame. Harry Shearer, the TV anchor, will get punched in the face by somebody, hopefully, and it's Timothy Oliphant. He's going to woo a lot of women, I think, just from apparently from Allie Dell's reactions here. Lucy Palotti will be played by Kerry Washington. Colonel Hicks will be played by Ron Perlman. That'll be fun. He's just going to be cranky the whole time. We'll love it. Philip Roach will change the name there a little bit more appropriate, a more Japanese appropriate name here for Ken Watanabe. Victor Animal Paolotti will be played by Johnny Knoxville. Lots of hijinks and probably pain for Johnny in the future here. Audrey Timmons will be played by Amy Smart. And to wrap it up, Dr. Nico Talopoulos will be played by, I can't believe I'm saying this, but David Arquette. That's a very 2007's cast, though.
That's a fun cast, though.
That rides the line of
nailed that for the era it came out in.
It's very you two are the. I love this. I enjoy this movie a lot, but you two seem to love it on just the step up above me, where I'm like, yeah, I love this. This was that '90s movie that I really liked it, but you guys really seem to be like, no, this is great. I love this. Like, so
it's very
if you guys
enjoyable.
are pleased, I think we've done our job here. So nobody's pointing guns.
I'm happy.
I don't hear a car screeching up to the parking lot outside, so I guess Corey's okay with it.
I thought I heard a faint scream, but
wait
maybe
a minute.
Something.
But yeah, I think that's good.
It's a good one.
Yeah. The only other question I have left is what band do you want to play on the soundtrack? Because the soundtrack was a big part of this marketing deal. We can't include the one that was there.
Park.
Redacted is no longer part of this conversation.
Yeah.
But
and we can't do Linkin Park because that's Transformers.
That's true. Yeah, we can't. They could double. They could do
unless we release it in January.
Yeah. No, we don't want to release. That's where dead movies go to die. This has to be a summer release.
I mean, who was big in 2007? Like,
and I'm trying to think. There's a lot of well, there's also the emo that was kind of still going.
Some
on
My Chemical Romance, maybe some Fall Out Boy. I could see a Fall Out Boy song. Playing on this. This Ain't a Scene. It's an arms race.
Taylor Swift's first album had come out by that time. Just kidding. That would not work at all.
Well, I think we'll have plenty of time to think about that. Tell us what you think about this cast. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you love Godzilla? Do you hate Godzilla? We want to know what you think, so throw it in the comments. Shoot us a DM, if you will, on any of the social medias at Quantum Recast. But thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Aly, thanks for being on again. Ash, Thank you for staying up late again with us to talk about one of your favorite movies from your childhood, I assume.
No problem. Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, we hope to have both of you back here soon, but we will catch you all next time. Ash, say goodnight, Ash.
Good night, Ash.